Well, hey there, how you doing? Dave Fennoy here. It's Wednesday, and it's 6 p.m. Pacific, and that means it's Ask Dave Fennoy Anything on Facebook Live. Glad you are joining me. A reminder, all of the Ask Dave Fennoy Anythings are recorded, and they live on my YouTube channel, Dave Fennoy Voiceover Training. I've heard from lots of people who've said, yeah, sometimes I miss you live, and I go check it out, and I learn so much because you have so many great guests. And I have a great guest this evening, by the way. And, you know, she's the kind of guest that's so great and so busy, it's going to be a few minutes before she can join us. But in the meantime, let me suggest that you get your questions together for Teerry Berland. She is one of the premier casting agents in Los Angeles. We are talking radio and television commercials, on-camera commercials, TV and film. We're talking animation and, of course, video games. And a reminder that she is hosting me, if I can get this up there. Yeah, there it is. I'll be doing a 2-day workshop. It'll be via Zoom. 2-day workshop, February 12th and 13th. That's a Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 5 p.m. And it's going to be great. We are going to learn so much. Those are our events where we get to really dive deep into acting, because that's what it is, an acting class on how to bring performances that feel like they have the motion, that feel like they have the connection of film and television, when all you've got is words on a page or screen and the microphone in front of you. We'll learn to do efforts. That's one of the things that often I think teachers neglect, but so necessary when you're doing video games. So I guess you can see that now. Let's see. It's 12th and 13th. The print is a little bit small there. What can I make it? I can't make it any bigger. But we'll talk about that. And once again, get your questions together now. Teerry Berland was a casting director when I came to town. Whoops. I'm going to let that go. There we go. She was a casting director when I came to town in 1990. She knows where the bodies are buried. She has kept up with the various trends in acting and commercials and what they're looking for. When you start talking about the things she has cast, well, there are far too many to mention. But just in terms of commercials, Apple, Taco Bell, VW, Nike, Old Navy, Kraft Macaroni and Cheese, the list goes on and on and on, every product category that you can think of. And while we wait on her, I'm going to take a couple of questions or comments. Let's see. Michael Glover, how you doing, man? This is one of those times. Must get auditions out tonight. We'll check this show later. Break a lip, everybody. And guess what, Michael? That's exactly why I record them and post them on my YouTube channel. So I always like it when there's somebody there. I know I'm talking to somebody and questions come in, which makes it interactive. But really, 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 really am glad that you're going to be able to pick it up later. If you want to say a quick hello, now's a good time. Heather Lynn Wyatt, good evening, and a good evening to you. Virginia Watson, how you doing, Virginia? Good to hear from you. And looking for, once again, more questions coming up. I want to talk about a little piece of equipment that I had the box and I put it someplace. But for those of you who are fans of UA, the UA Apollo or the Quad, but it's a little too pricey. In the same price range as the Focusrite 2i2, we're talking preamps here. UA has a new product called the Volt. You can get the Volt 1 or the Volt 2. The Volt 1 has one input, the Volt 2 has two inputs, and they have a special little push the button and you get a vintage sound. It just adds a little compression and a little EQ that kind of gives a more of the feeling of old style recording, which, as a matter of fact, people love the old style recording. If you're one of those people that has a turntable and you play records, oh, you'll love this. But once again, it's in the same price range as the Focusrite. And if you're taking notes, once again, that is the UA Volt 1 and Volt 2. If you're somebody that's about to buy equipment, that's one of your good choices for preamp. A lot of good equipment out there, but stick with the things that people are using. Also going to suggest when you're trying to push your career further, one of the areas you want to look at right now is dubbing. I know quite a few dubbing projects have started to come my way. And what has happened as the world has changed, we have television shows and movies that are hits in countries around the world. But the melting pot of America and the rest of the world, everybody's everywhere. And good shows are everywhere. So rather than all of us learn to speak Portuguese and Spanish and German and Japanese and Korean, we just dub them into the language of where you are, the language that you speak. And it is becoming a very, very big business. We were talking about Squid Game the other day. There's the French show Lupin. I'm working on a couple of shows, one out of Brazil. And if you have an agent, it's a good time to talk to your agent about dubbing. If you do not have an agent and you are your own agent, one of the things you might want to do is start looking up the dubbing companies and get yourself out there because they are there. Let's see. I'm going to talk about a student of mine. I'm not going to mention her name, but I always love it when somebody has a breakthrough. And it's interesting. There's so many ways you try to share with somebody what you mean. People don't always understand exactly what you're telling them when you say things like, take the words off the page, play the character, not the words. The words are only there to remind you of what you're saying. I come up with dozens of ways to try to get people to understand, yeah, the words have to be said, but it's what's behind the words that's very important. And I had a student today that she'd been, knocking her head against the wall, and suddenly it made sense to her. So for those of you who are out there, especially if you're starting, you haven't been working, you're running into a wall, stop worrying about the accuracy of what you're saying. Does it need to be accurate? Yes, absolutely. But stop worrying about the accuracy and worry more about the person who is saying these words. Our job as voice actors, to me, is to translate the written word into the spoken word. They're two different things. When you're looking at words on a page, that's exactly what you see. When you listen to somebody speak, well, you're kind of hearing the words, but what you're actually hearing are the phrases. And that's what you should be reading. And when you're reading those phrases and letting the words glide across, and I'm kind of paying attention and trying to glide them just even a little bit more right now, but you understand what I'm saying, as opposed to if I am talking to you like this and making sure that each and every word is being articulated. That's not how we speak. But we often do that when we are looking at words on a page that we are trying to translate into the spoken word. Read the phrases, not the words. Rule of thumb, the twos become tus. Sometimes words are actually not quite even said. They're kind of suggested. Oh, I went to the library the other day, and and there she is. There she is. So let me bring her on here and assign her to guest number one. And ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Miss Teerry Berland.
Hello.
How are you? I was vamping there and suggesting to people who are on that they should start getting their questions together for you because you know where all the bodies are buried.
I do. And I speak directly to the people. I work directly with the people who actually make all the decisions and book you.
Yeah.
Because I'm not the one who actually books you.
Yeah, but you're you've been doing this so long and you've been teaching so long. When I came to town in 1990, you were casting here, correct?
91.
Okay,
actually, the beginning of January 92.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's been long enough that I remember going to your casting place on the west side, and I think at that time I was pretty raw. I was working. I was doing okay, but I was pretty raw, and I remember things that you said that I say now. Talking to people about voiceover. As a matter of fact, I was just saying some of those kinds of things before you popped up. And one, Teerry, let me say thank you so much for being here. And you're just a wealth of information, and we're going to have a really good time on February 12th and 13th when we do the workshop, voice acting for video games. And people who want to sign up, you can go to Terry's website, TerryBerland Casting.
TerryBerland Workshops.
TerryBerland Workshops.com.
And then you'll see voiceover. Click on voiceover, and Dave has a beautiful intro there.
Oh, fantastic! Listen, let's talk about casting, and specifically casting for voiceover. The world is constantly changing. So, what are the changes that you've seen over the last 20 years and over the last couple of years since we've gotten into COVID?
The world is always changing, and we have to change with it. Let's add that.
Yeah.
Those of us who are successful. So everyone, do we know how many people we're talking to or no?
We don't know exactly. We know when they click in and say something.
Okay. I was just curious.
Yeah.
So you have to change with it. Well, when I first started, it was, everyone would come into the office and I would direct you. And it was on tape, really, and then Voice Bank came along. So everything was put on computer. That at the time, that was the only place that funneled ad agencies.
That was a big change, as I recall,
huge
when
change.
that happened.
Yeah, and so the industry was tight and rather closed. You had to have an agent, and the ad agencies would either hire a casting director, and we would get in touch with the voiceover agents, or they would send many more scripts directly to the agents, and then the agents would email them out to their actors. And many times, especially in the beginning, the actors would come into the agents' voiceover booths.
As a matter of fact, that's exactly what we did.
Exactly. So, but now you need to know how to direct yourself. You need to know technically
How to
um,
record yourself.
how to record yourself, how to send it in to us. And, it's tough not being directed. So you have to really know how to self direct. That's the really biggest change.
And with that change, I know for those of us who had home studios for a long time, and it kind of started with in voiceover with promo guys, if you're doing promos for TV shows and whatnot, uh, we started having home studios first. Now everybody has to have a home studio. Um,
Yeah.
what are the mistakes that you hear on the commercials that are coming to you uh, from voice actors these days? What's the nitpicky thing that when you and a bunch of other casting directors get together and you're going, oh, I can't believe that she did this,
Yeah.
said this.
The one thing is when before you send it to us, what's it called, Dave? You want
The
to
slate,
no, you want to technically um,
normalize.
normalize. I can't believe it because every once in a while, someone who really, really, really works a lot, they did not normalize the read. So their read is like this slow. And I can sort of hear that it's really good. And I try to have time to then email the agent to tell them to have it normalize, to have the actor normalize. But most of the time, there's no time.
Yeah.
Like another really, really, really big change is the lack of time that they're giving us to, yeah. Because it takes me about 2 or 3 hours to prepare a breakdown and prepare the script and the direction on the script and everything I want to communicate to the agents for them to communicate to you.
Now
So,
you're going to have somebody that's listening that goes, well, what do you mean? They sent you the words. They said looking for a male or female in a particular age group, and they want it warm or funny
yeah.
or powerful. Why does that take so long to prepare?
Well, I have to take all the elements of the terms of agreement and which is how it's going to run, what you're going to be paid, um, um, all those, put them in the body of an email. And then I have to take the direction. And a lot of times, the way they speak to us is different than how I would communicate with you. Um, because so I have to change the wording a bit. And then I have to get the wording on the script because it could lose something if I have the wording in the body of the email to the agents, and then I send you a script without the direction on it. So I have to get the direction on the script. And then I have to put all that together and then get it out to the agents. Or, if there's anyone I'm sending it out directly to.
Yeah. You know, um, I've got a pet peeve with copy that comes to me. It's not everybody, but all too often, all the information that they want you to know is in bold letters.
Oh,
It's big. It's legible. And then the copy is tiny, tiny
I
little
know.
print, or they're trying to be artistic, and instead of black on white, it's some lighter gray, or it's a gray on a
Yeah.
lighter gray or something. That I need to see these words. Why are you making this
Oh,
difficult for me? Um, don't they know?
that's another thing when I get copy that's too small for the actor to read, I'll make it bigger. And sometimes the way they send it to us, we have to retype the whole thing
Oh
because
boy.
we can't make it bigger. Um, I will say that most of the time, a lot of times, the direction, not that it's bigger than, but there's almost more words in the directions
Oh yeah.
sometimes
Oh yeah.
than in the copy itself. And yes, the ad agency will send too many words, and they'll go back and forth and this and that. So what I do is I read it and I rewrite it so it's, zoned in, zeroed in right to what I really want from you.
Have you ever had to uh, edit mistakes? I from time to time, and more often than I think it should be, you get copy that has errors in it.
Well, when it goes to a casting director, I can say to the producer, this doesn't seem right. And then they'll go to the writer and have it changed. But when there's not a casting director involved, there is a lot of that. And, there's no one to control the whole thing and fix it up.
Oh
There's
yeah.
no middle person to work with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're on your side. Casting directors are on your side. And we want to get the best reads possible. And it's nerve-wracking, by the way, after we get the breakdown out to see what's going to come in. And especially if they give me an extra day or two, which they, meaning the creative team, to get it back from you, and then I can redirect. Because sometimes someone will go way, way too fast or be way too bright. Um, and they have to tone it down. So if I have the time, I'll, email your agents and say, I'll redirect. And that happens quite a lot. And the actors, they really get it back to me within a matter of an hour.
Well, it's interesting because now since we all have home studios, I think the expectation is you're just waiting in your studio, twiddling your thumbs, uh,
Yeah.
waiting for the next audition to come in. I know for myself, I work. I have some project that I'm working on every day. I have students. Sometimes it's not a short commercial. Sometimes it's uh, a
Yeah.
game or an animation,
Right.
or something that I've got a two or
Yeah.
3 hour block of time uh, set aside for this gig, and I
Yeah.
don't know how many times I've written back to agents. I was working. It came at
Exactly.
1. You wanted it by 2. I was in
I
the
know.
booth till
It,
3. What happens
time
when?
management is very difficult. By the way, we go through the same thing, casting directors. My bef- Before we get the job, the producer will tell me, go over the production schedule with me, and they'll say, is this enough time for you? And I'll say, no, I really need another day or two. And one of my producers recently said, look, I got you 2 more days. And I said, yes, it's over a weekend.
They didn't get you 2 more days. They just sent it on
Exactly.
Friday.
And that's been happening a lot. And so if I need something back, if I have to get it to them by Monday, that means
You
you have
need
to
it
get it to
Wednesday.
your agent over the weekend. The agent has to work over the weekend to get it to me. So,
You, you
yeah, that
know,
happens a lot with us too. They just expect that the weekend is 2 more days of working.
well, we are. This is America. Work,
Yeah.
work, 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 work. Work yourself to death. Uh, it's interesting because I think those of us who are actors, myself included, kind of have the feeling that, they sent it to the casting director. The casting director either sent it to us or sent it to, and there was nothing else that had to be done. Here's the copy. Here are the terms. I'm going to pay you this much. All they had to do was copy and paste or forward, uh, but it doesn't come just ready to go for you.
No, we have to put all the elements together. And by the way, those of you who are non-union, for the non-union ones, it sometimes it takes 2 or 3 days to hammer out for us
Mm-hmm.
to hammer out all the terms of agreement because they don't give us the terms of agreement
So you have to go back and send
back and forth.
emails, make phone calls.
No more phone calls, back and forth emails, back and forth, back and forth. Um, and then when it's non-union, I mean, I can't tell you how many jobs that I don't take
Mm.
because they'll pay me the same amount, but as soon as they get into where they want you in perpetuity, I won't work
Oh boy.
on that job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, or if the terms are really, really bad for the actors, I won't work on it. So I give up that work. And unfortunately, there's a lot of it.
Oh, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Um, okay. Now that's looking through you to the other side. What you have to deal with the people who are getting you to send us auditions. Beyond not normalizing on the acting side of
Oh,
things, what are some of the mistakes that what are the things that make you go, oh, I'm listened to 10 seconds of this, I can move on.
yeah. Oh, first of all, the second thing that people could really, really do wrong is over edit. Um, like some people take every single, like, there's a little teeny pause between one sentence and the other, voiceover wise, just a teeny pause, not as big as real life, but some people edit that out. So it's like one sentence on top of the other, and it feels like they're rushing. So there's no
They take out
life.
all the breaths.
Exactly. And I don't mean this kind of breath, but I mean the life of it, the breath of life in telling the message or the
You
story.
know, that's interesting because I have heard people who do that. I have some students who they will talk about the time that they take to take out the breaths. Um, and to me, since I think society now wants somebody that reminds them of just a regular human being, uh, when you take out all the breaths, you take out some of the humanity.
Exactly. Absolutely. So that's the second big, as
Now,
far as I'm
along with
concerned.
taking out the breaths, too much compression, too much EQ. What do you want to hear um, when those commercials come in?
I want to hear the actor connecting with the message. So they sound like connected, they sound like they care, that it's not just words. Those are the people who really book
Yeah.
or are being considered.
And what? Well, right now, it always seems to me, and I bet everybody else feels kind of the same way. I have a fairly deep voice. Um, I always feel like, well, my voice isn't in vogue right now. It's the guy next door. And then I'll talk to friends of mine who are the guy next door type voice, and they're like, wow, you deep voice guys, you're getting all the work. What is actually in vogue right now?
Um, okay, I I see that announcers like yourself can make a lot of money because you get an account,
Yeah.
you know. So but other than that, in addition to that, very real sounding, like I'll hear car accounts with women on them or men with very thin voices. and higher voices where cars used to be.
Deep, and you get that car.
Exactly.
Ah.
Exactly. And have a drive to it, so to speak. Excuse the pun. But there's just regular sounding non-voiceover people doing cars now. Um, Very real was always in. I built my business, my voiceover business, on bringing my clients very real before they even realized that it was in vogue. And they liked that. And that's how I built up um, a strong clientele. And actors, when they came in to be directed by me, and these are six-figure actors, and I'd be directing them to be real, much realer than they were reading. And they'd say to me, "But Terry, that's not how it's going to end up." And I said, "I agree with you. It's not going to end up that way, but this is what they're looking for in the
So,
audition."
so it sounds like what you're saying is give them a very real, just regular guy, regular girl read that in the end they're
Mhm.
going to process and direct you to be a little more salesy.
Yeah, by the time they get done with you, it usually comes out slicker and more salesy because there's usually three people directing you, layers of people that it has to go through. And I find that most of the time, most of the time, not all the time, it comes out, much slicker
Hmm.
than the audition read. But not everyone can do that reel. So who's ever listening, you have to know your own strengths
Yeah. Yeah.
and not try to be
Something that you're not.
exactly.
Well, listen, I've got a question here. Whoops, wait a minute. Pop up there. There you go. Evan Richards, when commercial auditions have to be 30 or 15, do casting directors want it to be exact 15 or 30 seconds, or could it be longer than what the amount of time they want it?
We never time the auditions, never. And I don't expect you guys to. Oh, Dave, you look surprised.
I am surprised.
Never.
Not that anyone ever told me this, but I always just assumed that they were gonna. Oh, it's a 30-second commercial. It better not be over 30. Or if it's over 30, it's over 30. But oh no, we realize we overwrote it, and now we're gonna cut it down. All they're listening for is the read.
Yeah, and obviously, if it's a 15, you wouldn't do a 30 read to a 15 or
Yeah.
a 60 read to a 30 because it would just not be right. So, I think part of being a good voiceover artist is being able to time yourself. So
Oh,
you,
absolutely.
yeah.
Um,
So I'm sorry,
I
go
know when I
ahead.
no when I get a 30 commercial, I try to hit it at 29.5.
Yes.
And sometimes they are overridden, and you'll give them a take, and you realize that okay, I have to move this along a little faster than what is really comfortable for this spot. Maybe they want that. I'll give them one in time, and then one that I'll relax a little bit, and thinking that,
Yeah.
wow, they don't time them. I'm
No,
amazed. Learn
never.
something new every day. So how do you feel about slates? I know right now sometimes you get commercials or copy that no slate or slate at the end. Um,
Well, we tell you what to do because and you're actually now part of our organizational system, and that's why the directions are so specific. Because we want to turn in, we have to organize everything and then turn it in. Um on a posting that we send to our clients, so we want everything uniform. So the casting director, the directions will tell you, slate before or slate after. Mine usually say slate your name for the second take, just say take two, don't slate your name. On the second take, slate your name, don't slate your agent. So following directions is really important too.
How often do you get that slate that says, "Hi, this is so and so, and wow, I've just been looking for this opportunity. I love this product. I use it all the time, and I know so and so that works there." And do
Oh
you ever
God,
do you get
I don't
those?
know.
Good.
If I did, I couldn't send that in.
Oh no, I know, I know, but I have heard casting directors tell me that
I've
tale.
never gotten that.
Oh, good, good. Well, you
Mhm.
are working with professionals, absolute professionals. Let's see.
Talk about, what's really interesting is talking about lead-ins.
Ah, tell me.
Yeah. A setup. Don't We don't like setups, and our clients are not interested in your emotional setup. Um, so I
And for
think,
those who don't understand, that's where you have given yourself a little run up to the copy, where perhaps the copy starts with, "On another day, I would have done this," and you open it up with, "Well, I was thinking about how I like to do things, and on another day, I would."
yeah.
They don't want to.
Or let me tell you,
Ah,
and then they go into it. Like that should be to yourself. My clients and I are not interested in that. It's not the copy. Keep that to yourself.
keep that to. And it's not that you can't do it, but cut it out.
Exactly.
Just you can do it, but
That,
don't send that part in.
yeah. I did have something recently though where someone did a little setup and it was actually good because the feel of this particular announcer was that he was a sports announcer. So he said a couple of words beforehand that a sports announcer would do, and it just
It lended a bit of reality to it.
exactly,
Yeah, that
exactly,
the exception that proves the rule, or somebody who knows what the rules are. So when they break them in the right way.
exactly.
Yeah. How about
And then
energy?
radio, of course, radio, there's a little more
Little,
room
yeah, yeah. Well,
because
with radio, you are it. With television, you're supporting those pictures and telling the story underneath the pictures.
absolutely.
And let's see, we were talking about that, but my good buddy Big Lou, setups get done during the actual booking to great success for some. I know he's saying that because he's done it. And by the way, congratulations, Big Lou, number one blues song in the country right now. Uh,
Oh, wow.
he's
What
he's
is it?
he's a multi-threat, great voice actor and great blues
Wow.
singer.
What's the song, Lou?
Oh yeah, yeah. What's the song?
I'll
That
write
I
it
think he's
down.
going to credit me with giving it its name. But
Okay.
so you teach a lot of classes. I know you teach online classes or on camera classes. You're teaching some voiceover classes too.
Yes.
What are two or three of the most important things you say to someone about their voiceover acting, about how to do auditions that are going to book?
It's all about connecting with the message. Um, it's one thing to know technique, but when you're really, really advanced, you embrace the read beyond technique. you understand a spot has an emotional message to it. And what they're looking for in the voiceover is to finish off the spot with the emotional message. So you have to know your strengths, and then you have to understand the branding. You have to know your own branding, your strengths, and then you have to know the branding, understand the branding of that particular spot. Like, is it, um, is the main branding trustworthy? You know, that you're going to trust. So then you have to embrace your voice, obviously, has to sound trustworthy.
Okay. Got a little question here. Heather Lynn, what advice or strategies do you use to help actors get out of their own way? I find with students I'm working with that this is a big issue, that this little voice in their head that's listening and judging and questioning gets in the way of connecting with the copy. They're connecting with whatever this is and not what's in front of them. How do you help them get out of the way of that?
I think by really being able to analyze a piece of copy, and again, understanding the emotional message that this piece of copy is asking for, and really getting into the nuances of transitions, um, your focus will be on that and not, chattering
Yeah.
about other things.
Well, so often people are, I think, concerned about the actual reading, just the mechanics of seeing the words, getting them out of their
Hmm.
mouths,
Yeah.
and are listening to themselves. What does
Hmm.
my voice sound like now? Uh,
Yeah.
to me, I know when you're not actually connecting, even though it kind of sort of might sound like it because you're singing a song that isn't yours. You're
Exactly.
doing that. And if you do this, and then the da da da, as opposed to, um, also sometimes I feel like if people would just, we don't want to put it on tape, but just talk a little bit, just in wherever their voice is, and then go into the copy in the same frame of mind, in the same voice, in the same volume, same speed, as opposed to you're talking and suddenly, and now I'm going to elevate because I've got this copy in front of me and have to say it
Right.
over. I hear that a lot. You are probably, especially at this point in your career, you're working with top pros.
Well, Dave, when I do, when I cast non-union,
Ah,
it's not the
and what
top.
kind of mistakes do you hear there?
Truthfully, everyone has become so savvy that the ante has really been upped.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I'll just go back to not connecting. If they're not connecting, it's like goodbye. They go, I listen for a couple of seconds, then I have a yes file and a no file, and I'll just slip them in the no file because they're not connecting.
They don't know exactly what it is they're talking about. They don't know what the message is and what the emotional message is with the words. How about old form of commercials, and we still get them: problem, solution, call to action. Um, but there's so many commercials now that are not that never ask you to purchase anything. They remind you that they are there. They remind you that they're part of your life.
Yeah.
Um, how do you help people understand that?
Well, even with the ones that you were talking about, where it's this, and that, what I point out is that people will tend to build. Like they'll build. And I'll always point out that a build is commercial 101. It's boring, it's expected, and so take a look at if you're building in your read, and then take a second look and see where you can level off.
You know, I'm not quite sure I understand when you say build. What are you saying? What might be an example of building?
Um, the voice would get higher and higher and
Oh,
higher
okay.
and
I
higher and
got you.
higher, or a little more driven to an end result. That's what I mean. It's just a build.
Not an emotional journey, but a volume or speed journey.
Yeah, now that you say it, there is no emotions in it. Even if it's excitement, you can excited, then there could be a transition and you come maybe a little down from that excitement, and then there's a statement or a relief. Like take a look at rhythms.
Okay, okay. That you
I
know,
I
I, and
know
I, I,
I'm speaking in a very advanced way.
you know what?
So
I do understand what you're talking about now, and it reminds me of the number of people I know, myself included, who have a musical background. And I've been asked often, does that help? And yes, it does.
yes, it definitely
It
does.
definitely does.
Definitely.
I've got a question here, Jay Horace Black. So connecting. Are you talking more of being clear with who you're talking to, plus knowing the product and being aware of how that client wants us to feel?
Okay. Yes.
I'm going to leave that up. So we.
I yeah, definitely who you're talking to. But then I call it the I element. I. Like there should be something in your read that, again, this is very advanced, where I believe this, I experience this. Let me tell you. So it's more, so that's connecting, like, I did this, I know this, I had success with this. So it becomes more than just empty words. There's a feeling behind it,
Yeah.
where you're not trying to convince someone else. The person I'm listening to, someone who's listening to this ad, is listening to a feel in the voice of that voice having success with this, or having great experience or relief with this.
That you're listening to another human being telling you that this, whatever it was, worked
Yes,
for me.
yes,
But you have to believe it. I I know so often. I I tell students, look, our job is to sell products perhaps that we don't use, watch TV shows perhaps that we don't watch, um, and sometimes you have to substitute. You know, you're talking about a product that maybe you have no knowledge of, no interest in, uh, and sometimes you have to substitute something that you do for that product that you're talking about.
yeah, I'm gonna call it passion. Like the way you're talking right now, Dave,
Mm-hmm.
there's, like, you have a, you're passionate. And
Yeah.
I don't mean anything big and dramatic. So it's a little dangerous when I use that word passionate. But if
I
everyone
believe
listened,
what I'm saying.
exactly,
It's important to me.
exactly, exactly. So if everyone just heard Dave, how he's talking to me, like that's it. And I think, Dave, you just said it. Like you really believe what you're
Yeah.
saying. So there's a connection and you're passionate about it
Yeah, there's
and
a
sure
sincerity.
about it.
I'm not trying to fool anybody about
Exactly.
anything, not, but just sharing my truth.
Yeah, and there's a belief in it. There's like a warmth, a connection. I'm going to use the word connection again.
Wow, wow, wow. So
So you're connected with what you're saying. Yeah.
what's the toughest product you've ever had to get auditions for? What just drove you
Ooh.
nuts?
Oh, I
Terrible
don't think
question.
I just I I didn't have one that was difficult. I really didn't.
Well, let me
I
ask you.
will say something though. I'll turn that question around. There's been products that have been big surprises where we just thought it was, oh, just a commercial, just an audition, like the Taco Bell Chihuahua that
That's Carlos Alice
voice.
Rocky.
Yes, that I cast.
Yeah.
It was just a casting session, one casting session. Who ever thought? None of us ever knew what that would turn into.
And that was
And
huge.
it
It
was
was
huge.
just huge.
And Carlos, to this day, if he's on a panel, like if he starts talking about that, he'll thank me because he came in and wanted to do a character voice as everyone else did because they saw the picture of the, Chihuahua dog, the animated picture.
Hmm.
And I said, Carlos, no, no, make him real. Just have him have a personality. Take out the character. And he too, what do you mean take out the character? Like he's an animated. I said, no, just make him real. Because my clients said to me, we don't want character voices. We don't want put on character voices. And to this day, and he did it. And it's hard to do, guys, those of you
Yeah.
who are out there who are very successful doing something to do something else. It's very difficult.
And and I think because of that commercial and Carlos's performance in that, um, quiet as it's kept, I think it has changed the landscape of a lot of animation.
Uh,
What I notice in our animated movies nowadays, they're not looking for funny voices; they're looking for people who have character in their voice.
yeah.
Um,
Like you did, you booked a parrot for me.
yes,
Yeah. And they weren't, um, it's just the person's personality leaning towards a parrot, but not putting on a total character parrot
yeah,
voice. Because
not going full on cartoon.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. So, uh, we're getting down to that. What is some of your best advice uh, for voice actors uh, who want to make that next step up? Maybe they're just starting. Maybe they've been doing it for a couple of years, uh, but they want to get to the next level.
You just have to keep at it and keep practicing, keep taking classes, getting to know, studying with a lot of people, definitely listening, if it's commercials, listening to commercials, um, definitely learning how to connect. I can't wait for your class again because I do remember a number of years ago when we had one. And the biggest thing was people didn't realize that it took acting. in that capacity.
Oh, I just thought it was crazy voice.
Exactly. I just thought it was, oh, I'm being punched in the stomach. No, how would you really feel?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How would you really feel if you were punched in the stomach? So, kind of what those video games are more enhanced, broader, but even in a commercial, it's more nuanced. So I don't know, just keep practicing, just keep at it. I've seen people for years trying to get to where they want to get to, and they're enjoying themselves as they're doing it, but it takes years, and sometimes your career doesn't always go in the path that you thought it would go. So go with it. Carlos,
that
there's
right there, Terry. That right there is so much wisdom. I know when I came to town, I thought, oh, I'm going to be doing trailers with Don LaFontaine. I've done some trailers. However, that has not been. If I had to live on my trailer money, I'd be broke.
but something else happened that you didn't expect. So
A
you go with
bunch of other things
you're
happened.
exactly like you're huge in video games.
Yeah, and when I
Carlos,
started, video games weren't a thing.
there you go.
And I've been, knock on wood, fortunate to TV promos, commercials, narration, video game, animation. I've been able to do it all, and I don't think that's the path for everybody. And sometimes we don't know our path when we get on
No,
it, and we don't know where the path is going to lead us. Uh, but be on the path.
exactly. Stay on the path. Go this way and that way. And it's the same with a casting director. It's like getting on a wave, surfing and just riding the wave and staying in the game.
Yeah. I also want to say to some people who feel like, well, I've been doing this a long time. I feel like I'm good, but I'm not booking those things. Sometimes it takes a minute for people to find you. Uh,
Definitely.
Sometimes the thing you do is not, well, I promise you the thing you do is not going to be appreciated by everybody. But at
Absolutely.
some point, your brilliance is going to come through. Uh,
Right.
there's just so many talented people out there. All you have to really do is keep knocking on those doors. There's just too many stories of people. Well, I was living in my car and I was going to give up, and let me do this one last audition, and boom,
Exactly.
and away we go.
I get from people who I teach, I get emails all the time. Um, I booked this, I booked that, I booked that. They didn't book for me, or I didn't even have an audition for them
Yeah,
yet, but other people did. So you just keep putting it out there, and you will attract what's right for
what's
you.
right for you? There you go. There you
Yeah,
go.
it really is attraction. Just staying in the game and knowing what you want and being positive, and it will happen.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
listen, we've just about hit the hour mark. I just want to remind people once again, coming up February 12th and 13th, that's a Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 5 via Zoom. Voice acting for video games. We will really get into it. There'll be a certain lecture part, but you'll be reading lots of copy. We will do efforts, and there are 15 places, but I call them flies on the wall who get to see and hear it all. You call it auditing. For a lower price, can join in, and certainly looking forward to whoever is going to be taking the workshop. And you can book it at TerryBerlandWorkshops.com.
Yes.
TerryBerlandWorkshops.com. And it's spelled just like there, just right under her. TerryBerlandWorkshops.com.
I can't wait. I'm going to be sitting in both days.
Well, don't be surprised if I call on you for something. No, thank you so much, Terry. And
Oh, this is
I've known
great.
you a long time, and you
Yeah.
you are a fixture uh,
Oh,
in the acting community, not just voiceover,
yeah.
because you do it all on camera, TV, film, animation, video games, commercials. And thank you for because I know how busy you are.
Thank you.
So
And I just want to say to everyone, like, I just love being in this community, and we are definitely a community.
that we are, that
So,
we are. All
how
right,
do I
everybody.
sign off? Do you sign me off, or do I
Uh,
have
uh,
to?
no, you just stay there. I'll talk to you a little bit when we get done here. But I do want to say thank you, Terry Berland, Terry Berland Casting, TerryBerlandWorkshops.com. If you'd like to take a workshop with her, mine or any of the others that she does, that she always has something great going on. And thank you guys for joining me. And if you weren't here last week, again, I'll say Happy New Year. And of course, book something. See ya.